Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our really big show. Really big, really big, really big, but only because I'm hosting. I know you were expecting someone else, but surprise, surprise, it's me. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you're in for a treat. Are you excited? Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. I don't like the way this looks. Like, why do I always have to blend into the background? Listen. Do me right. Look, it always cuts off the top of my head. Like, what do I have to do? What's a girl from Ohio gotta do? It makes me look like I'm just one thing. Look at that. Listen, can't you make me look pretty like the other girls? Oh, thank you, Sianka. Thank you. You're so sweet. You're very, very nice. Maybe if I do that. No, nothing works. Nothing works. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything I wished I could be. And we are waiting for Joey Palimeno. You are the wind beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? Do you guys remember what movie that's from? Of course you do. Beaches? Who can forget Beaches? Listen, when I was a young child in the ghetto, growing up, I would watch these classics and these new, they called them romantic comedies and dramedies with my mama. She would make me watch all of these sad old lady movies, you know, like Steel Magnolias, which I love. I love, don't get me wrong. But why am I, a 7-year-old child, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, watching Steel Magnolias, Terms of Endearment? I mean, she made me watch Dr. Zhivago. Did I just drop something? Leave it to me. Yes, I did drop something. In any event, the Thornbirds. Anyone remember the Thornbirds? Why am I a child of 6, 7, and 8? A child of the hood, the ghetto of East Cleveland, Ohio, watching the Thornbirds with my mother. We have a guest. Is it Mr. Palimeno? I don't have, oh, there it is. Who is James Lewis? Who is that? I don't know you, James. I don't know who James Lewis is. That's what it said. It said James Lewis. I don't know who that is. Unless you're subbing for Mr. Palimeno. Oh, he said I'm a fake Muslim. Oh, he's a troll. Oh, you know what that means, you guys. We got to sing our official troll song. Just kidding, we don't have one. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Isn't that from that Trolls movie? Justin Timberlake did that song. Got this feeling in my body. James Lewis, go away. Go away. Go away. I'm here to talk to Joey Palimeno. Yes, I clicked on the accept the invite. Joey, come up, come up, come up, come up, come up. You didn't join right. Joey, are you on a computer? Because if you are, you're going to be in big trouble. There you are. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Let me see. Camera. It's the first time I've done this live on TikTok before.
Really? You know what? A lot of people have never done it before, and this is their first time, and I feel so sorry for them. This should not be your first time on TikTok Live talking to me. It really shouldn't, because I just joke around and sing and laugh. I'm an unserious person.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being
It's
on.
definitely a pleasure.
Is it cold there, Joey?
No, I'm not in. It gets a little. I'm originally I've been down in Georgia for about 12 years now. I'm originally from New Jersey.
Okay.
So I'm used to the cold, but it's just so humid down here at night. It gets a little breezy.
Oh.
And then me, I'm a hoodie person. I like the house at like 70 degrees, but I always have a hooded sweatshirt on.
Okay.
And it's a thing. I don't know. It's a thing with my son. He makes me. I mention my son all the time. I'll probably talk a little bit later on the show. But he's one of the big reasons why I decided to run. He has Down syndrome. He's 9 years old, but he loves me with a hood up. He'll constantly, if I'm not wearing a hood, he'll make me go get a hood and tell me to put it up on my head.
Okay. Well, we will accommodate you just for tonight, Joey. Okay, Joey Palimeno, welcome to Our Vote Counts. I'm going to have to do a little intro for Our Vote Counts. Please give me a momentito. I was originally not scheduled to do this one. I was scheduled to do the one before, but it got canceled. So you got me, Joey. And I am poorly prepared.
Awesome.
Welcome everyone to Our Vote Counts TikTok Live Town Hall. If you are looking for the men's department of the Dillards, you're in the wrong place. Please share this out to your followers. Joey, do your followers know you're here?
Yeah, quite a few of my. I let a lot of. I have a good following on Facebook and Twitter, and I let them know I'd be on here.
Okay, but are they?
I would have liked to let. This exact link.
Yes, you can share this. You can.
I share. See, I am kind of new to TikTok. That's the thing. I'm not great at it. I'm not great at it. My kids honestly teach me it, which I feel terrible because as a millennial, I feel like I should know more about it. I guess what I shared was the I shared the town hall and your page. So I probably could have done it a better way. Yes.
Joey, calm down. It's okay. I'm going to show you how to share it. I am here I am the moderator. I am the helper. I am the hostess. I am the talent for the evening. So, Joey, you're going to take your whatever finger you want and press down on where it says Our Vote Counts. Just press down on it. And you're going to see a list. You see a list of names come up.
Let me see real quick.
A list of names should pop up. That's all of your followers. You can send this to everybody or just 5 people. You can just hit send. Send. And it'll share to everyone who is following you.
Okay.
It'll send them a DM.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very easy.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. Well, I should say everyone who's
Did it.
following you, who you are also following, right?
Okay.
So you have to be friends with each other.
Okay.
And then
I
if
like
they
that.
want to come in and listen to your town hall, they will do that. It would be cool if we could get some Georgia residents in the house. I'm going to send it to a few people I know who are from Georgia. And also you can repost it and you can. Okay. Also, I want you to do me a favor, Joey. While I'm
Yes.
reading this intro, I want you to hit the mute button and then just tap your screen to like it. Do you know how to like it? You see how you can like it? You tap the screen and then you see the hearts.
I see a flower. It's showing a rose and a little gift box.
Okay. Do you see where the arrow is? You can
Yes.
just tap your finger right above the arrow. You should see some hearts lighting up on the screen.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to do that while I'm reading this so we can get the likes up. So we can get the likes up on here, right? So while I'm doing that, I only say put yourself on mute because sometimes when you're tapping the screen, it could be a loud noise. That's all. But okay. Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability in the upcoming elections. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It is a promise, a movement, and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you guys something. These races they're heating up, but they're thinning out. But they're heating up. We had who had their primary today? Nebraska and West Virginia had their primary today. And then on the 19th, which is next Tuesday, is actually a Super Tuesday. And I believe Georgia has theirs on the 19th. And Joey Palimeno is running for Georgia Congressional District 1. That is the Democrat race. The Democrat race, the primary. I believe it is a primary, right? I didn't see an incumbent listed, but it is the primary. District 1. District 1 is, if I can get my laptop on here to come back up. District 1 is a coastal military heavy port driven district in southeast Georgia, stretching from Savannah down to the Florida border and inland across Pine Country. It's one of the most geographically and economically distinctive districts in the South, according to my research. Joey Palimeno himself is a Democrat candidate from Camden County, New Jersey originally. He's been in Georgia, as he said, for, I think he said 12 years in Georgia's first congressional district. At 34 years old, he has described himself as a working class candidate who works as a veterinary technician. Oh, he works with the kitties, cats, and the doggies, and has emphasized understanding the financial struggles many families in coastal Georgia face. Joey has been active in grassroots political organizing and community discussions throughout Southeast Georgia, often focusing on healthcare, affordability, housing, and economic issues affecting everyday workers. He has publicly stated that he does not take PAC money, yay, which many supporters view as admirable because it reflects his emphasis on independence from corporate influence. Joey frequently engages directly with voters through local forums, social media, and community events, rather than relying solely on traditional campaign outreach. We love a man who's on the streets. He is also one of the younger candidates in the race and often speaks about creating a future where younger generations can afford to stay and build their lives in coastal Georgia. Now, Joey, you may take yourself off mute. And please tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you decided to run for office.
So I just turned 35 in April 24th. I'm a work just like you said. I'm a working class dad. I got 4 kids. One of them is a newborn. She's 3 months old. She working on her. She keeps me exhausted, as I like to say at my events. One of the big reasons I got involved though was I've always loved politics. In high school when I was up in New Jersey, that was when the Obama campaign was going on. That was when social media was getting bigger. So I stepped on and helped out there. But when I became, when I got married, came on here, I met my son's mother. We ended up getting married, and that just when I had him, that's kind of when my view of politics changed. As I said, he was born with Down syndrome. When she was pregnant, they told us a lot of stuff was gonna, he may have had a lot of conditions. He did end up having two holes in his heart, which he had repaired. He had open heart surgery at under a year old. But then right before COVID hit, he got leukemia, and
Wow.
for males, that's 2.5 years of treatment. And he is on Medicaid, due to having Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But that made me think a lot. What if Jason didn't have Down syndrome, and what my life would look like then? Because financially, it still was a massive hit, on my family not being able to work for that long. Thankfully, we were in that emergency state, so there was more government assistance. But I could only imagine what that looked like in different situations. And also, I met so many families up on the, up on that floor where Jason was at, who didn't have the same help I had, who were literally going financially bankrupt, to save their children's life. And that's just that there showed me, that America's healthcare system isn't just broken. It's like truly, it's just brutal. It's not right, especially for the richest country in the world, and for what I see our government spend money on. So that inspired me to change. Kind of, like I said, I've been a veterinarian for about 17 years. So I ended up going to school for political sciences. I got my bachelor's degree from Southern Hampshire University, and then kind of kicked it up a notch, and wanted to run for office.
Okay. And here you are, running for office, Joey.
Yes.
Listen, Joey. What was I gonna say? I totally forgot. My brain just totally completely went bloop, 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 bloop. Joey, listen. If your campaign had a theme song from any music genre, what would it be and why?
I feel like it would be Rocky because, and that's because I being Italian, and then also I've been treated like the underdog this whole entire race. I had other candidates who were more, I like to say, establishment Democrats and whatnot, who were have a lot more personal wealth than I do, who kind of treated me like, I want to say also some didn't really respect me until I raised enough money to get on the ballot, because in Georgia, not many voters know you have to actually raise, enough money to get on the ballot, and it depends upon what state you're on. But in Georgia, you got to raise $5,220 to get on the ballot. I had none of that. None of that came. I wasn't able to personally fund myself like other candidates were. Like you can do campaign loans. I raised every single dollar of that. Most of it came out of and I'm proud of it. That most of it came out of Georgia's first congressional district. But until I got that money, until I raised that money and paid that ballot fee, I feel like I wasn't shown respect. Candidates were backing it. We were supposed to have a bunch of it was 5 events that one of the local organizations got ready, and they ended up canceling it because the candidates backed out because they didn't want to go and do any events before any ballot fees were essentially paid. And I wasn't too fond of that decision, because I felt like that was a way for grassroots candidates like myself, candidates that work more working class candidates to, get our names out there, raise a little bit more money. So I had to change my strategy up a bit, but it still worked. I made the ballot as a, underdog, and we're doing good.
There you go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Never mind. So the population of this district is huge. says here
Hmm.
that it's around 780,000 people.
Yeah.
That's wow. And it's an urban, suburban, rural mix. So you got a good mix of living conditions, significant African American population. You got some military folks there. I mean, this is a nice, it sounds like a nice, diverse district, but it's got some problems.
Yes.
It's got some problems. And we're going to talk about your plan for this district. We're going to start with public education.
Hmm.
Georgia continues to rank near the bottom nationally in per student education spending. How would you advocate rather for more federal investment in schools across coastal Georgia without increasing pressure on local property taxpayers?
So what I would want to do is, I think, public education wise, one big thing I see in Georgia's first off is a shortage of teachers. My son goes there, and there's not enough teachers for one. They're underpaid. At one point, his mother tried to substitute, so I know she wasn't. I know what she was getting paid. So I've seen, great ideas we can do to make sure our teachers get paid well. Like Bernie Sanders had a wealth tax that would, ensure every teacher gets paid at least $60,000. I would like to see our teachers get paid more, and they should stay so they could stay in the area because they know our local areas best. I don't want any. I oppose any public dollars going to private schools like you saw in the one big beautiful bill. There was a big tax credit that Georgia just opted into. It's $1,700 that you can get to donate to its nonprofit scholarship organizations for private schools. I want that repealed. Georgia also offers their own, quote unquote, school choice program, which is pretty significant. That's at the state level, but I would like to work, to get that repealed. But I think we should have universal pre-K nationwide, starting at 3 and 4 years old, and going to college. Myself, I'm a 35, so a millennial. They sold college to us like it's the pathway to American dream, basically. Go to college, get good grades, do this and this and this, and you'll be able to buy a house. And since I've graduated, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that from many of my friends. We're just stuck in debt, and then plus with all the all the changes in the student loan repayment system have been very difficult to be. So I think we should cancel a lot of the student debt we have now and realize that was a mistake. I don't think it's right to make. I don't think it's a good decision for a society to us to be profiting off education. We should want to be more competitive, especially in a day and age where you got stuff like these emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to see billionaires benefit from that. I want to see workers benefit from that. And right now it's not. So I think also if have a pathway to free community college, free trade school, that would take some pressure and take care of it at the federal level. That way you don't have to raise property taxes and do it like that. I don't think we should treat education as a massive profit stream. I don't think it's a smart model for a country. I think it's a great investment in our workforce and our people, to have a highly educated society.
Okay, well, you answered my next question about retaining teachers. I think a basic pay is a good idea.
Yeah, and also like if we're gonna do, say if we are gonna do, schooling for teachers, if they want to go get higher degrees, we also need to have, if we fix the student loan system, that means let's get them a pathway to forgiveness so they're not stuck in a lifetime of debt as well. If they're doing their public service for a certain amount of time, it should be forgiven. And I saw some improvements under the Biden administration with student loans, and then with Trump getting back in office, it's gone 20, 30 I can't even say how many steps backwards. So that's something we have to look at again and completely fix. But these teachers are doing a public service. I look at kids like my son Jason. He's special needs. It takes a special kind of person to to teach all kids. So I think we should treat our teachers with respect. And realize they're doing something great for our society. So we should reward that.
So, who do you think should be in charge of school curriculums? Do you think the state should still be in charge, or do you think the federal government should take over?
I feel like the federal government should at least set a standard, and then the state should, go from there. Whether they
Okay.
want to go, whether they want to raise that standard. Because I feel like when I appreciate states' rights, and I get that, but I feel like when we don't have that federal standard, I feel like everything in America is so patchworky, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With between our healthcare system or whatever it is, I think if you don't have that federal standard, then you see some states, sink below other states.
Right.
And that's what I recognize going to Georgia, because coming from New Jersey, when I was a child and when I was in high school, we had, and I think we still do have the best schools in the country. And, we pride ourselves in that. So it was something, a huge shock seeing, the way my son's educated versus how my special needs cousins and whatnot were educated up in New Jersey, and how I was educated myself coming down here.
So, what resources do you think you can bring to your district for children like your son who have special needs, who might need school aids, or
Mm-hmm.
uh, even a completely different, maybe school building where they can go and feel
Right.
comfortable and they would have accommodations and things for their particular needs? Do you think something like that would work, or what do you see is lacking in the state of Georgia that you, when you get into Congress, you can help fix?
One big thing in Georgia with me is I've seen with our public schools is we don't do very well with our, the IEP plans they make for kids. In New Jersey, it was less of a fight that you had to do at the school, but here I feel like I'm fighting for things that the school should already know. Like, I had to fight very hard for my son to get into an extended school year program. They said he didn't need it, but he said cancer. He said he had 2.5 years of cancer, 2.5 years of battling cancer. That set him back a lot. So I felt like that was a given. Why not send him, to extended school year if you offer that? But his teacher said no. So that was a whole. I was almost 2 months, between back and forth. So I think they just needs to. There definitely needs to be more communication, more resources to schools. Whether or not whether or not that means a different building. I know we had that in my school. We had these mobile units where you would go out in the back and learn. And that was just for us because our school was going under construction at the time. But that could be smart, something like that to have, for special needs students, or like you said, even a different building. I would love to innovate with that. There's other kind of therapies called ABC therapy that I've been looking at for my kid, that I feel like for my son, that I feel like we should offer. I just think we should be doing a lot more for especially for special needs in Georgia.
And do you think money is the factor? What do you think is the reason why they're not offering the things in the state of Georgia that they would in the state of New Jersey? Is New Jersey getting more from the federal government than Georgia is?
I feel like Georgia's lacking in teachers. Like I said, I would really like to see my son have like a para with him, someone that's with him
Right.
at all times. A paraprofessional with him. I feel like we don't have enough of them in Georgia. I also think it'd be helpful for him to see, someone for mental health as well. We don't have that many resources in Georgia, so I would love to bring those. Get down to the nitty gritties, check out budgets, see where money's going, and if Georgia does, if that is the issue, bring that in and see why our schools really don't have enough teachers. Is it just because these local? I live in a very rural area, so is it just we're not paying enough? I would love to see what it is, but like I said, I would definitely want to get them in, whether that means raising pay, whatever it may be. We definitely need more teachers, paraprofessionals, and in Georgia, mental health counselors, all that kind of stuff is definitely needed.
Georgia is one of the states that has not, from what I remember, has not expanded Medicaid, correct?
Correct.
What
Yes, what
do
we have is
you
this.
So what do you think is the hesitancy there? I know during we call it the big germ. We don't call it COVID because TikTok doesn't like to hear that. But during the big
Mhm.
germ, under the American Rescue Plan Act, funds were given to the states to expand Medicaid, and Georgia did expand it for that period. But once the funds ran out, they rolled back the expansion.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are without medical insurance. What do you think is the hesitancy in expanding Medicaid in your state? And would you advocate for, I don't know, a single payer health plan, Medicaid for all, Medicare for all? What is your health plan looking like?
So I'm big on universal healthcare. I think that is where we need to go. Every other developed country is there. The only reason why we're not there, I feel like, is because money in politics, and also, buying out our politicians. There's a big misinformation around it. We pay way more per person than every other country does, yet we're getting worse health outcomes. We got about the same life expectancy as Cuba, the same country that we're starving of oil right now. I feel like that is completely unacceptable. We need to go to a single payer system. Georgia, I feel like the hesitancy is just, they like to say that Republicans try to say that it's federal uncertainty, because that match rate, they don't know if the government's going to keep on, paying that match rate for that Medicaid expansion group. So like you said, under the American Rescue Plan, it got kicked up to about 95%. So that's a huge match rate. Federal government's paying 95% of your expanded population, and Georgia still didn't bite. They did end up expanding it for up to 12 months for postpartum for women and children, which I thought was a step forward. Almost every state has gone there. Yeah. That was a step forward. But what we have right now in Georgia is called Georgia Pathways. It was a waiver program. So it expanded Medicaid up to 100% of the federal poverty limit, but it has work requirements, just like they enacted under that one big beautiful bill. And here's the kicker: it expanded Medicaid. That 100% should have made 250,000 more Georgians eligible for Medicaid. It's been open for, I think, 2-3 years, and only 10,000 Georgians have enrolled. Even the guy who did the commercial for it ended up going out and doing I don't know if you ever heard of More Perfect Union, but ended up doing an interview with them, admitting about how terrible the program was. That he literally had to call the governor's office once to get back on his insurance, and then call the insurance company, I think it was CEO whatever, to get back on the plan, because he was just getting booted off for no reason. So I fear that's what's coming when these Medicaid work requirements kick in. So I feel like the main goal of this next Congress has to be, right now, especially with Trump in office, is to get these Medicaid work requirements completely repealed. Otherwise, we're going to have a real big problem. That really scares me. I don't know. I feel like it's just an excuse to kick people off Medicaid.
It is,
because that's such a huge number. 250,000 more Georgians eligible for Medicaid, but you only have 10,000 enrolled. That just says in itself right there what the program is. And the crazy thing is, they actually just did a study. Is that actually the taxpayers in Georgia, and most of it's come from, we're actually getting less federal dollars because we're not doing the full expansion. So us taxpayers in Georgia are paying more for this. And the program has ended up costing more, just an administrative cost, than it is to insure these folks. So it's also a waste of money.
Wow, Georgia.
So they like to call it, they like to say we're fiscally conservative, but we're leaving federal dollars on the table, and then we're wasting state dollars on this program to seem like, to act like these work requirements are going to make people work. I don't think that's right to have, all that red tape and bureaucracy in front of healthcare, especially from the party of, so-called limited government who likes to cut, regulations.
It's limited when it's convenient, and then it's expanded when it interests them. But there's a question from the chat. It says, why not go further than a single payer system? How about a national health service?
Yeah, I would be for that. Anything is better than what we have now. I would be any bill that would get us better health care, ideally under everybody under one healthcare system. I'm willing to look at other plans, how other plans as well. But from the of course, the most common one you see right now are the Medicare for all proposals. That's just going to drive prices down itself. because we're paying so much in administrative cost. You got so many middlemen. There's just so much waste and inefficiency and so many layers that to our healthcare system. Whatever trims that out and lowers costs for people, I would 100% back.
Okay. Let's talk about public you know what? Speaking of this, uh, public utilities. I saw a video today from a young woman who was standing in front of her childhood home, and she said that I believe it's Georgia Power exercised eminent domain to take the land that her home is sitting on. So they're going to destroy the home to run some kind of lines through for a data center. And there's nothing anybody can do about it, obviously. That's the utilities in some states are allowed to use eminent domain to expand their infrastructure, which is crazy to me. Crazy. But what do you think about these data centers? Should this be a national regulation? Should Congress step in to regulate the building of, the presence of, the use of these data centers? I know it's a private corporation, but they seem to be popping up everywhere. Even in Ohio, I'm in Ohio. They're popping up in Ohio. They're using up a lot of water resources. They're not answerable to the local governments. What do you think the federal government should do? What should be the congressional oversight? Should there be a law? Should there be fines, penalties? What do you think?
I think right now we need to kind of slow down. I'm in favor of putting a national moratorium on stopping data centers for right now until we have clear regulations for consumers, workers, and see what they're actually doing to the environment, and also, because you mentioned eminent domain, that's supposed to be for public, quote unquote, public use. So it should be for the public good. But what are they really doing good for the public? Because like you said, they're jacking up our electricity bills. They're draining our water. They're causing a lot of pollution, and then they create such little jobs. I've seen these data centers spend billions and billions of dollars,
Right.
and it's like 10 jobs permanent. Like I don't understand the investment behind it. And also, they're getting so much government subsidies. I do feel like we need to press the pause button right now, and get some clear. Congress needs to definitely get some clear regulations, like I said, for workers, consumers, the environment, and make sure that this again is not benefiting the billionaire class, is not hurting the environment, is actually helping workers, helping consumers, and is actually something that's good for the public.
And it should be bringing jobs to the area, right?
Yes.
The jobs they're bringing they're going to use workers from all across the country to build the structure. So it's not really bringing construction jobs to the area because they're importing people to build it. And then there's probably going to be a couple of people who are security or janitorial services or something. It's not bringing any jobs.
No.
So what's the advantage to the city or the county where these data centers are? What's the advantage?
I guess they're looking at, I don't know if looking at property tax revenue, but then it's crazy because I look at a lot of them, a lot of them are exempt, like I said, are getting some kind of subsidies, whether that's exempt from, sales tax or whatever it may be. So that's the thing too, is, what like you guys said, what really is the benefit of these, data centers? It's tough, it's hard to say if, are they even benefiting us at all at this point? And, like I said, I just think this AI boom has gone it's just moving way too. I'm all for, economic growth, jobs. We do need more jobs. We need more good paying union jobs, but it's not going to come from data centers. Let's start doing something, better. and of course, and also look at the energy demand we're putting on our grid at the same time. These data centers use massive amount of energy, and then you got the Trump administration attacking clean energy at the same time, which is not only the fastest deployable source of energy, but it's the cheapest as well. So it's so funny you mentioned that, because I actually saw a commercial today as I'm scrolling up on Facebook with Georgia Power talking about data centers, making a commercial saying that they're not passing that on to us. I
Yeah.
can tell you 110% that has been passed on to, between that and the nuclear power plant that they built up in Georgia. It has been passed on to us. At one point last summer, my power bill hit $889 in Georgia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was bad. And that was it hit that 2 months. I had to go on a payment plan. I'm like, I can't do this. This is hard. This is I was shocked. Then I ended up doing something, going on flat bill. But long story short, our rates in the past 2-3 years in Georgia, it's paying for Georgia Power. I feel like it's like paying for my a house when I first moved there. Basically, that's how
So,
expensive it's gotten.
so what accountability measures do you think Congress should enact to deal with these utility providers? Because going from, and I've seen all the stories. I've seen people say they went from $80 to $300 and from $100 to $800. That's unsustainable for one, especially if you're a retiree. You can't pay that. You can't pay it.
Mm-hmm.
And people are raiding their 401ks to pay utilities. We're dealing with utility insecurity now, like food insecurity and healthcare insecurity, and it's becoming another thing that wealthy elites get to have more of or get to afford easily because they have the money to pay for it. While the rest of us, the working class, we used to be able to afford these things easily, right? I mean, we didn't want to pay $100 for the light bill, but we did it. But you demand that we pay $800? No, that's ridiculous. What do you think Congress can do about that?
I would love to see something, along the lines of whatever it may be, a windfall tax, where you get these excess profits these companies are making, return some money to the consumers. We've been getting hit for very, very long, and then use the power of the Federal Trade Commission to kind of break up the monopolies that these utility companies are. Promote stuff like electric co-op, stuff like that, whether it be public ownership of utilities, because what we have right now is just a bunch of monopolies, running monopoly utility companies running each state, and the model just it isn't working. I feel like if we get some competition in there, we can lower prices, also do stuff, like reward them for, instead of extending a coal plant like they're doing right now, to put that coal plant out of business and make clean energy, because it's or solar energy, because it is cheaper as well. It's just it's getting too much. And like I said, I feel like they had that monopoly power in Georgia. I don't know if y'all saw, but we had that our public service commission. We didn't have elections there for a long time. People got so mad they finally the 2 seats went up for election. They did flip blue for the first time, so we do have 2 Democrats up there. So hopefully we get another one up there to finally make some decisions and hold Georgia Power accountable, because you might as well just that public service commission before, you might as well just have called them Georgia Power.
Wow.
They were all employees of Georgia Power. Everything Georgia Power said, they said, okay, you go ahead and do it.
That was the case in Ohio too. We found out that the illuminating company was in bed with the Republican Party in the General Assembly. They were money exchanging hands, and there was a whole court case and everything. But someone did ask about PACs. If you guys were here at the top of the show, Joey is PAC free. He's PAC free, baby. He's like Coke and Diet Coke. He's Diet Coke. No, he's Coke Zero. He's still raising money, but he is PAC free. So you ain't got to worry about that. There is another question. It says, okay, we already did that one. Oh, someone said, in addition to the environmental and other concerns mentioned, data centers need to give a dividend since they are using our data. What do you think about that?
I actually saw that, and I did like that idea. That was something that kicked my head. I'm like, that's a very good idea. That I saw that data dividend. That was smart. I'm glad someone mentioned that. I was reading about that. There's a lot of stuff you can do, whether it be with data centers, AI, you could do a robot tax, stuff like that, make a public fund and kind of return, those funds that they're making off all this AI data center boom, and make sure again it benefits the public in some way, because I do fear what's going to happen to workers. I really do. I know they say it all the time. I know they say that during the .com would happen, but the AI boom, it's happening really fast. I've already you've already seen studies of some big companies cutting off jobs, slimming their workforce, because they're getting more quote unquote efficient. But I feel like that should be a reason to expand your business. To get workers are more efficient. They should be getting paid more. They should be reaping the benefits as well, and they're not right now. And like you said, that is also our public data that you're using. So why shouldn't the public benefit? I agree with the same thing. Like when you're drilling oil on public lands, that's also our oil. They do it in Alaska. They actually have a permanent dividend in Alaska for drilling oil. It's something as well. That's our resources that you're using, our data. We should get something back from that. I totally would be for that. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so to that end, what industries would you prioritize to create higher paying jobs in your district?
I think this coastal district is very unique. I think it could be, a hub for, clean energy. We also got, the Port of Savannah that's, growing, but I think we needed, also as we're growing, you need to look at smart growth. You want to grow, but you don't want to, build the manufacturing center or expand the port before you look at, what the congestion is going to be like on the road. How's it going to cause in traffic? I feel like right now, we build so fast. We don't look at how it's going to affect the communities. Locally, I hear it from all the time from constituents I speak to, who are, like I said, that, I don't like the new traffic. I don't like this. I don't like that. So I feel like the local government, locally, federally, on the state level, we need to plan better, but we also, still need to be efficient at the same time, and build fast. So I would love to see, more manufacturing jobs, more clean energy jobs. We got the Hyundai Center up there where we're building EVs up in Georgia. That's in our district. That's something that I enjoyed. I think that's a historic investment. It's unfortunate that, the Inflation Reduction Act got kind of gutted. So we don't really have any great industrial policy, right now in the United States. So I think we needed to, get those clean energy tax credits back, because Georgia was we were benefiting the most, I believe, in the country at one point when I was tracking it, from those tax credits. It was bringing in billions and billions of dollars of investment to Georgia. So I wasn't shocked when Republicans repealed it, but I was kind of shocked that they slashed it that hard. And it's shameful to me that you would cut jobs in your own district, especially when a lot of those jobs were going to be good paying union jobs, the jobs of the future. I just feel like we're going, backwards with this administration. And it hurts me, because we're always going, with the Democratic Party. I'm very critical of my own party. I feel like we overpromise a lot, but we had some, decent legislation passed. I'll give it to them under the Biden administration, at least that's domestic policy wise. And I feel like under the Trump administration, again, we've gone backwards, especially, when it comes to clean energy, when it comes to, the environment, climate change. So that's definitely something now that Congress needs to, tackle head on, as well as the healthcare crisis, because people don't realize these cuts that Republicans, put in that bill haven't even kicked in yet. They designed it to kick in after midterms. So we're about to feel some pain. I got, my son's he benefits from, food stamps. He's on Social Security. He's on Medicaid. Luckily, he has Down syndrome, so he will be protected.
States are already preparing. States are they're I want to say pre-unenrolling people, because they're anticipating receiving less money than the prior years from the federal government. So they're already kicking people off SNAP and Medicaid.
Yeah.
And, certain
oh my gosh! So here in my district.
Oh, go ahead. This is your show, Joe.
I'm sorry. I was shocked just when you mentioned SNAP. So our website, you enroll for SNAP in Georgia. It's called Georgia Gateway. I've been hearing from a lot of folks that the website is now down, They can't do their periodic reports, to check in to keep your benefits. They can't do renewals, so they're having to go into Snap off, the actual physical offices and do it by paper
Yeah.
now. So I'm like, is that another intentional way to kick people off of Snap now? I'm like, what's
To make
that's
sure
not
you
right to me.
are
That
who you
your
say you
website's
are.
down.
Yeah, to make sure you are who you
Right.
say you are. You're not unalived. You're not illegal. They want to see you. They think if they see
Right.
you, they'll be able to determine that, yes, you are eligible just by looking at you. But also, Republicans are still beholden to the oil and gas industry. Woohoo! Oil and gas, oil and gas. So renewable energy just doesn't strike their fancy, Joey, even though we've gotten better as a country at storing renewable energy sources. We've gotten really good at it. We've gotten better at collecting it too, but Republicans are still like, no, we want to dig into the earth until there is no more earth, and we want to rely on fossil fuels until the end of time. It's like you said, it's hurting the certain industries like the electric car industry, which I would think right now, considering the gas prices, would be booming, right? If I had an electric car, I wouldn't have to worry about paying $5 a gallon for gasoline. That's insane.
Yeah. I actually had one. It did get totaled in February. It broke my heart when it got totaled in an accident, but I had an electric car. I did use the point of sale tax credit from the Inflation Reduction Act. It enabled me as a working class dad to get the newest used car I've ever had. It was a 2022 Chevrolet Bolt. It did get totaled in an accident. What wasn't anyone's fault. Just bad design of a road. But now I'm shocked because again I'm back in a gas car. It's a little Kia Rio, so it's not terrible. But as you could, I don't know if you saw, my district is huge, so I
Yeah,
have put in so much miles on that car, up and down. And the prices of gas, it eats up your funds. It really does.
it does. And you're probably driving all over the district campaigning. You ever thought about roller skates, Joey?
I actually used to be a great roller skater.
Did
That
you?
might be it's a good investment. I need to look into that.
Okay, Joey, enough with the small talk. I got some rapid fires if I can get into my laptop here. If I don't do these rapid fires, I get into trouble. Let's see. Rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. Okay, Joey, these are going to be yes or no or either or, pretty much one word responses, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yes or no? Should every new coastal development in your district include a flood risk disclosure in plain English?
Just in English? Or it needs to be, as long as it's in different languages, I'm okay with it, but yes.
Okay. Uh, do you support federal funding for climate resilience in high risk flood zones?
Yes.
Okay. One word. What is the biggest climate threat to the Georgia coast?
Say flooding.
Flooding. Okay. Yes or no? Should port expansion require independent environmental impact reviews?
Yes.
Should the Port of Savannah operate 24/7 like other major global ports?
I would want to leave that one up to the workers.
Oh no, Joey,
I
come
think it should be
back.
up to the workers.
Oh, there you go.
I wouldn't leave that one up to the workers. Honestly,
Really?
I think if the workers are for it, it would be okay. If that's what the workers want to do. But I think it should be a workers' decision. If you guys,
Okay.
if they can handle it, and want those shifts and have enough of manpower, then yes. If they don't, it's going to overwork them and burn them out. Then no. But I do think that should be something that you should leave to your workforce.
Okay. One word. What is the biggest barrier to economic mobility in your district?
There's not a lot of jobs, honestly, in the rural community. In my rural area, you got to drive far to get a job that pays well, especially in a rural community like mine.
So is it
I would say,
area, the type of land, or is it just the fact that rural areas are left behind when it comes to uh, job projects and things like that? They're not really thought of when it comes to economic development.
yeah, I would say a lot of from what I, a lot of we're growing slowly, but we're suffering from a lot of underinvestment, and it shows in the kind of jobs we have and how much the jobs pay.
Right. Okay. Yes or no? Should Congress increase funding for military family housing at Fort Stewart?
Yes,
One word. What is the most urgent need for veterans in your district?
mental health care.
You know what? Everyone says that. There must be
I think it's a
something.
big
There
one.
must be something to that. I don't think the federal government is listening, considering their recent cuts. Should TRICARE coverage be expanded to include more civilian providers in rural counties?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yes or no? Should local governments be allowed to cap short-term rentals in coastal communities?
Cap the amount that's built.
Well, cap the number of rentals. Like maybe it should only be 10 instead of 1,000. Maybe people don't want to live near an Airbnb. Maybe they just, they want affordable housing, but you can't get affordable housing because all the housing is being used for short-term rentals.
No, them I likely. I would say no. Leave that local. Leave it local.
Okay. One word. What is the biggest housing challenge in your district?
We have a massive shortage of affordable housing. Like we have enough houses, but not enough affordable. We have enough houses, but not enough affordable houses.
So, wouldn't a cap on short-term rentals help that?
Short-term rentals. Okay, okay. Yes, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that question. Yes, absolutely.
All right. I thought
sorry,
maybe I thought maybe you owned a few Airbnb or Vrbo.
No.
houses
I've
and you
actually
were
stayed
like,
in Airbnb once in my life. I'm not too fond of them. They're very expensive.
okay.
Yes, sorry, I misunderstood you. Yes, that would be great. Yes.
Okay. Yes or no? Should property tax relief be expanded for long-time homeowners in gentrifying areas? So say you've
We're talking. So you've already lived there, correct? You haven't.
lived
You're
there
not
for
newly moved.
decades. And then there are these
Yes.
new developments coming in and it's going to raise your property tax.
Right. Yes, I want to give those folks some relief. Yes, gentrification is a massive issue in Savannah.
Is it?
I do. Yes, gentrification is definitely an issue in Savannah.
Really? What are the people saying about it?
There's definitely just been a lot of homes, especially since COVID, that have been bought up, in lower income areas that were, quickly fixed up, flipped, and then sold for a lot of money. And then again, everyone else in that community is stuck, and it's.
So are they being used as rental properties or are they being sold to families? Are people buying them?
Some of them are sold, but you also do have your rental properties as well.
Yeah. Wow. One word. What does public service mean to you?
To me, it means representing the people. Doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Should elected officials be banned from owning individual stocks?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yes, they should be banned. Do you believe government should prioritize the next generation or the next quarter? What does that mean? Should prioritize the next generation. I guess the next generation of young people. What would they call themselves? The alphas, the zennials, or
I think isn't it Gen Alpha? I believe. I think it is.
I think it is Gen Alpha. I think it is. Do you think the government should prioritize them?
Yeah, I have younger kids, so I do fear what would it look like for my kids, and especially at the rate we're going right now. It makes me scared of what life is going to look like for them. Are they going to be able to afford it? You know, it's terrifying as a parent. It really is.
So would you say right now the federal government is not prioritizing that generation?
No, I don't feel like they are, and I feel like when they do, it's these small. They give us these small little, incremental list policies that just aren't enough, and it's enough for us not to go crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like that sounds bad, but I really feel like that's how it is. It's like, we'll do this, and then you'll calm down a bit, and then we'll come fix the problem later a bit. They never fully, solve a problem.
I was able to buy my first house, thank God, at the age of 30. I don't see a lot of people
Oh
being
wow.
able to achieve that right now. Well, this was in 2008, so but
Okay.
I don't see a lot of people being able to do that now, which is unfortunate
Mm-mm.
because I don't know, you don't want to be renting for the rest of your life, I don't think. I don't think.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up in a house, my mother grew up in a house, so I wanted to own a home and I can imagine kids in that Gen Alpha, they want to own a home maybe. My own kids talk
Hmm.
about it. They want to own homes, they want to have a family. And a lot of people are not seeing that they're going to be able to buy a house because the interest rates are not dropping, the prices are not dropping. What do you think Congress can do to help this along, Joey?
Um, I think you need to start one incentivizing these local governments. We got a lot of outdated zoning laws. We need to build, multi family homes, a lot faster. I do feel like there is a bit too much. You got to strike a nice balance between regulations and what the community, the not in my backyard and what stuff. And we do need to build faster. That's clearly we do definitely have a shortage of, quote unquote affordable homes. I feel like we need to make sure we get these big corporations out from stop buying homes, because they are so, they're also raising rent as well, as you mentioned too. Making sure homes aren't just being used by those corporations as well as for, rental properties. And I definitely feel like, you should offer lower interest rate loans, and you can do, whether, like for first time home buyer assistance, for homeowners. It is getting that down payment. That's a big deal. That's
That
definitely a
is.
big deal, especially when wages are so low and we're scraping by. So it would be, I think, a big that's a big need. That's something big for the federal government. To make that investment. But I think it's a great investment. That
We've
have that
done it
home. That's a sense.
before.
Right. It's a sense of security. It's more stability. You're not worried about where you're going to be in a year. You're not worried about your landlord jacking up rent. Unsurprisingly, you can, it is nice. I don't own my own home, but or I'll say this. My grandmother was nice enough because everything was going on with my son. She did purchase us a home. I'm blessed for it. I love my family. Not everyone has that, and I appreciate it, and I can definitely see why that is so wanted by Americans, because
Yeah.
it is great to go out and fix something in my house, and know that I didn't just waste that money and fix it in someone else's home, where I can decorate it. I can scrape measure my kids on the wall and see how
A
tall they're getting, and not
garden,
have the
maybe.
landlord clipped out. Yeah,
Yeah, the kids can
exactly.
play in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
Joey, we have some questions in the chat about animals. Goodness, people want to know about their pets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any pets. I have plants and I have kids and that's enough, frankly. But
Mm-hmm.
someone wanted to know, I think since should pets be covered by universal health care since studies show that pet ownership leads to better health outcomes?
Now, this was even debated by a few of my friend veterinarians before, and even in the vet industry. And I now they do have pet insurance. I think we should definitely regulate that much a lot better. Get some regulations around the pet insurance industry, make sure it's fair, make sure, you're not getting overcharged. You can even, put in pre-existing conditions, stuff like that to make sure it's a fair industry. But I feel like that would be a whole nother step. I want to make sure, prioritize, getting, people insurance. I would say in an ideal world, I would love that. I would love to have it done. But, right now, I feel like my first step would be, to get the current pet industry, the pet insurance industry, regulated, because there isn't much regulations, around the industry at all. And they're definitely, just me myself working in the industry, that it's some companies are good and some companies are very, very shady. I'll say that. It takes a while to get paid sometimes. A lot of people get, buy packages they don't need. I definitely feel like we could do better for our pets and our people. It does make people live longer, make them happy. There's a ton of studies around that. But pet ownership comes with responsibility. You got other stuff just in healthcare. You got food that's expensive, all this kind of stuff. So it's that one's kind of hard for me. Because like I said, I feel like if we could just lower the rates and get the industry fair right now, I feel like that would be fair. That would be a great step forward. Because I do feel like pet ownership, it's what's a human right. You know what I mean? I feel like, housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Do I feel like pet ownership is a human right right now? That's kind of, like I said, it's great for humans, but that's a lot of responsibility. It's like having a child, it really is. It's like kids. Like I said, it's more than just healthcare. It's dog food. It's, heartworm prevention. It's all this kind of stuff. It's a lot that goes into it. Really is.
Joey, we have a question from the chat. We have a pet owner. She has a lot of pets. She has a chinchilla and some rabbits.
Oh my gosh.
I think she has a horse or something.
I love you, Ayana.
I love you too, Siaka. Go ahead.
Hey, Joey, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. You have a beautiful son. He's oh my God, full of smiles. Beautiful child.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So yes, so sorry, Ayana, that people that care for our fur babies, because you're right, because when my chinchillas had when one of them had to get their arm amputated because he thinks that he's Superman, that ended up cost a pretty penny. Especially you probably heard of Care Credit.
Yeah. Yes.
And some of their percentage rate is out the wazoo. And of course, like their food and the care that they have. So I get it that people want to take care of their pets, but yes, adults, humans need it too. But just something for us pets owners to not indulge in, but to care for the environment, since we humans, we should care for the environment, Ayana. So what kind
I have like 50 plants, okay? I'm surrounded by environment.
We do this all the time. So what do you what would you have, what policy would you improve to make pet ownership more affordable? Because people want you to adopt instead of buying, dogs. They want you to adopt instead of buying a pet. So what can you do for cheaper reasons? So what can you do for pet owners?
I think it would be great, honestly, to have something along the lines of, if you adopt a pet, from a shelter versus, buying a pet, do some kind of, refundable tax credit, or work with that organization to where, you get, some, whether it's a year free of food, year free of vet care, whatever that is, but just to encourage something to get these pets out of these shelters, because coming from someone who has worked in a shelter, not all of them have the best interests of the pets in mind. Sometimes that's not the shelter's fault. Sometimes it's a lack of resources. Sometimes it's just bad staff. But anything to get these pets out of those shelters fast, like I said, whether it be, like I said, a refundable tax credit that you get, for the whole entire year, for food, for whatever that may be, or, the government offering, grants to these, animal shelters. I would be for something like that, because, definitely I'm a big one. I like the whole adopt, don't shop, kind of deal. I'm not against buying pets. I bought pets myself too, but I also go rescue a lot of pets, and I have seen a lot of them in the shelter as well, and it's definitely it is heartbreaking. So anything that would encourage that, anything that would boost people to like I said, adopt more pets.
Especially for service animals, like veterans. I am a disabled veteran. My husband says no, I can't have a dog. So I have my pets in cages where you don't have to be bothered with it. But but for the sake of our veterans with service animals as well, like if there is something that can be a bridge or a conduit to make it easier for pet owners who need it for disability reasons as well.
Right. I mean, if you're getting into, I feel like if we're getting into that, a pet that you need, whether it be for epilepsy, whatever it may be, that support for to make sure you're okay to live. I feel like that should be something that should easily be covered by healthcare.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Very easy, whether it be whether it be under whatever plan we have, whether it be under a universal plan of healthcare, whether it be under a Medicaid waiver, something we can get done. There's tons of innovative programs we could do to make sure that we have those support animals. Because my son, having Down syndrome does great as well. When his dog is around him, he's much calmer. He doesn't do very well with loud noises. He always puts his ears up like this. When his dog's around, he does it a lot less. And he'll go over to my dog Caesar, rest his head down, and it does calm him down. So definitely think that should be something that could and should be covered by healthcare.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering my question. See, Ayana, see?
I don't have anything against pets and animals.
Joking with you.
Please. Haven't I shared with you the story of the deer that come into
Yes,
my
you
backyard?
did.
I
Yes,
don't
you
kick
did.
them out. I let them have their naps, and then I tell them to leave. There's a cat around here. He takes naps on top of my garage. I don't spray him with a water hose.
But thank you, Ayana.
You're welcome. Oh my gosh. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bianca, by the way, is one of our moderators and the researcher. She did the research, I believe, for this town hall. She does a lot of our research. So thank you, Bianca. But she's also our fellow pet owner. She loves the pets, the animals. Mr. Joey, we got to talk. We got to talk about voting rights, Joey. Joey, come back. We got to talk about voting rights.
I had to plug my phone in. Yes, we do. Definitely talk about voting rights. That's a big one.
Your state is one of the few in the South that has decided to wait to redistrict. The governor has said that you all will definitely need a new map for 2028 for some reason.
Yeah.
But do you think that there should be an amendment to the Constitution that guarantees every American citizen the right to vote? Because right now we don't have one. It's all up to the states, and we got 50 of them suckers. And everybody's doing something different. And right now your voting right depends on where you live. Should it be that way, or should the Constitution just flat out say every American citizen has the right to vote?
No, I think it's straight up in the Constitution. I think Republicans are going to, would be hard to get that amendment on their side, but I think it should be in there. It's definitely gotten harder to vote in Georgia, I can say, since 2020. A lot harder. COVID was great to me. I could see why the turnout was so high that year. It was so easy to vote, and it was honestly, I enjoyed it actually. It was just quickly, something easy, going on my phone, hitting a button, requesting my little, mail-in absentee ballot, whatever what it may be. It came right in the mail. Now they did that law where I don't know if a lot of y'all saw it. You can't, line warm in Georgia, which means, you can't give food, you can't give water, within a certain amount of feet. So Georgia went, crazy like a lot of other Republican states did, and restricted voting rights. But since then, to get even to vote by mail, it's hard. You need a printer, and I don't have a printer.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
you
Yeah.
got other ways you can reach out to your local election laws, but again, that requires stuff like having transportation and all this kind of stuff. So it's just there's so much barriers up to vote. I just feel like it should just be it's our right. It should be something that's simple and easy, and also fun. Like I said, in 2020, I really did enjoy voting because it was so easy.
And I enjoy voting by mail. Ohio has voting by mail. It has very generous voting by mail and in-person early voting. But the more requirements the states put on someone's ability to vote, the fewer people will vote, right? Or is it the less people will vote? Someone in the chat will tell me. But voting numbers have gone down since most states have required people to have a photo ID. And then they have changed the type of photo ID you can have. And then they changed how you can get a photo ID. Now it has to be a real ID or, a passport, a US passport, and who has the passport. But the more requirements that are placed on just being able to get to the polls, people are like, forget it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be bothered. Like I said, the redistricting is probably going to make it less desirable for people to want to vote. Are you concerned at all about that?
Yes, this current redistricting war is very dangerous. Very. I think for both parties. I would encourage them to. I mean, Republicans aren't going to stop right now. And Democrats, I feel like we kind of tie our hands behind our back and like, we're gonna take the moral high ground. On this one, you got to do something bold. They're cutting up every map right now, every chance they get. If Democrats, if I'm them, and if I'm a governor, Democratic state, I'm urging my governor or whoever it may be. If I'm the governor, I'm gonna gerrymander as well, even though I don't believe in it right now. Under every Democratic trifecta, and then get it to where a point where it's it's leveled out and broker up a deal. Be like, listen, are y'all ready for a ban now? Is this it? Are you ready for it? Because Republicans aren't going to stop.
How do you think?
Especially with this Supreme Court decision, they've definitely gotten bold after that one.
How do you think districts should be divided?
I would like an independent, commission to draw it. I think, how they're divided. I think it needs to be fair. It needs to represent the state. It needs to represent the state population. If you have, if your state is, 1/3, you have 1/3 black residents. That you make sure they have fair representation, and it needs to just be fair along all lines. And also, I look at stuff, like I've even seen some measures to add some more members to the House, that way that you're not dealing with like I would have 700,000 constituents to get some more representation, whether it be proportional. That could also get some more parties in, and then add ranked choice voting to it, stuff like that. Actually, you could get unique with it. That would be ideally in an ideal world. But then it's complicated because even those like someone just said in the comments, those independent commissions also get politicized. So I feel like they need to be, if you're going to do the independent commission, it needs to be. I would like to see it's even hard to say in election, but it's so it's an issue. It's. Because like I said, they're very biased as well too. You get someone up there, there's always going to be that personal bias against one party. So it needs this. It's an interesting thing to what is a truly fair map, if that makes sense. Because if you look at California, if we want to get technical, they got Republicans in California, but in an ideal world, if it was fair, they would have some representation, and so would Democrats in a state like Wyoming, but we don't have any there. So it just stinks the system that we're in.
That's the interesting part, is that you will see so-called blue states but they have some red districts. There are no
Mhm.
blue states that have no Republican districts. But now we
Mhm.
are faced with potentially having Republican states that have no Democrat representation whatsoever.
Mhm.
And that to me seems unfair, especially if you are in a state where there are millions of Democrat voters. Why
Mhm.
should they have no representation just because your state assembly decided that they shouldn't have any representation?
Mhm.
That's bananas to me. That's bananas. That
Right.
sounds to me like taxation without representation.
Mhm.
I vote Democrat. I don't want a Republican representing me. My neighbors vote Democrat. My family votes Democrat. Why is my representative Republican?
Mhm.
Doesn't make sense. If hundreds of people around here vote Democrat, why is my representative Republican? And why is my representative hundreds of miles from where I live? Like some of the
Mhm.
new districts being drawn they don't make any sense except someone's
Mhm.
trying to keep someone else from being in power.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's unfair. That seems to me like something Congress could fix, either outlaw gerrymandering or outlaw
Mhm.
gerrymandering.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Supreme Court has said it's constitutional to draw these lines to favor one party, but I don't see why it can't be outlawed.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think right now the parties are kind of in a war. I don't know if the probably. I would love to see them, halt up, but Republicans are seeming like they're full blast, and I'm glad Democrats, finally did kick up and are doing something. We did see even the people, decide that they were even. They even voted for it, in California and then in Virginia, to have the map changed to make, to quote unquote, try to save democracy, right now. The Virginia map did get struck down. There's appealing this to the Supreme Court. I hope they are allowed to run on that, map that the voters did vote for, because I've seen states like Ohio run on, ignore courts and,
Yeah,
delay and run on illegal block maps before. So
right.
I'm glad Democrats are, like I said, fighting back right now, because it stinks that, I'm kind of, I don't like it that, I'm kind of advocating, to mess with democracy to save democracy, if that makes
You
if
might
that
have
makes
to
sense.
do a
So,
little bit. You might have to do.
but yeah,
You have to show them. You have to show them how unfair it is, so everybody can go, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't
mhm,
do this anymore. Maybe we should finally."
mhm.
Because I mean, no one's like you said, Ohio, we had
Yep, yeah, yeah,
our fights, and the state assembly ignored the court orders. They ignored the Constitution. Florida's ignoring its Constitution.
mhm.
Texas ignored their Constitution. What good is a Constitution if no one's going to follow it? Why don't we just tear it up and throw it out?
Right.
No Constitution, no parties, no
Mhm,
government. How about that? No government at all? Oh, we can't go
mhm,
that far.
mhm,
We can't go that far, huh? Hmm.
mhm.
Where do you draw the line, Joey? In these
Yeah,
last minutes.
it's unprecedented, crazy times right now. It really is. I feel like this is a pretty crazy. It's a crazy place to live in. It's crazy living in America right now. I would say that it's interesting. This is going to be in the history books, I feel like.
And you want to be
And
a
me
part of the
personally, I
madness.
want to be on the right side.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
you want to jump into that pool, Joey. Do you know there's pee in the pool,
Yep.
Joey? Do you know?
There's a ton. It's loaded. It's loaded.
It's loaded. So in these final moments, Joey, uh, what do you think you would want voters to know about you and your campaign that would make you a better choice than all the others in the field, in the primary field?
So one thing that, like I said, I'm a working class dad. I like that. I feel like we do not have enough members of Congress who knows what it's actually like to live a day and in the shoes of a working class American. What it's like to swipe an EBT card, stress about a Medicaid renewal, worry about if you're how you're going to put food on the table, worry about the light bill, worry about all that kind of stuff. I went to school and got my bachelor's degree in political sciences. I've been a vet tech for 17 years. I was the vice chair of the Democratic Party of Camden County, which I did as an unpaid job. I just feel like we need more average.
Wait. Joey, why are you just now bringing this up when we have 5 minutes left? You were the what of the what?
I'm the vice, so it's just a local small party. We have, just my local Democratic Party. I am the vice chair of that. My term, technically, we're about to have elections right now, and with campaigning, I kind of don't like to interfere the two. But yeah, I am the vice chair of the local
Democrats. What is this?
Of the local Camden County Democrats. I'm the vice chair. Yeah.
Wow. So, tell me about this. What do you do? What's your job? What's your function?
So, a lot of, I would say, this is where it gets kicked. I mean, I have an issue with Democratic Party. Is I took the role on and I thought it would be different than it was. I thought there would be more coordination in the group between, me and the chair. There wasn't that. It's hard to get a quorum many times to get people to show up. And that's in a lot of these local parties in Georgia up across the my district, especially in rural communities like mine, where and some of them might not even have a party. So, we don't have that much strength. So my biggest thing I try to do is to take my knowledge I got with political science and, whatever happens in Washington, like the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan, I try to translate what they just passed and all that crazy language and all those, ARP, all the little acronyms like to do, and tell y'all how you can benefit from that. And then, also, take care of my post, whether that be fixing, some ladies' curtains in a senior citizen, a public housing community. I've done stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I like to see, I love policy. Someone in a debate called up in Atlanta, I think it was an insult. My opponent called me a policy wonk, and I kind of run with it now. Like I love it because I do love policy. I know policy in and out. I'll read laws when they get passed. I truly love politics. It amazes me that you can pass a law and truly change someone's life. I just feel like we have a massive priorities problem in our government right now, and that's another huge reason why I want to run, or why I chose to run.
Okay, someone in the chat, Lieutenant Lawson asked, "Are they progressive Democrats? Your group of Democrats?"
In my eyes, no. No, not by my standards. I do go by it now. I do go by a Democratic Socialist like Bernie Sanders. I'm a member of DSA as well. That's because like I said, I am running as a proud Democrat. I like the Democratic Party, but they have let y'all down. They've let my generation down. The establishment Democrats, from even like I said, when I started working on the Obama campaign, I had so much hope that universal health care was going to pass. I really did. That's one of the big reasons why I campaigned in him for high school. And then instead we got the ACA, which is a step forward, but let's be real. It was written by the core idea was from the Heritage Foundation. It was, Romney Care came first, so it's like nationwide Romney Care, and it's also massive subsidies to these insurance companies. So it's more corporate welfare to me. So it was a step forward, but it's not what we deserve better. Is my point. We definitely deserve better than what the Democratic Party has been given y'all. And I feel like DSA is very active in the communities where they don't put money first. And I like democracy. I'm a big fan of democracy, whether it be voting in the workplace with unions. I think democracy is a very important part of our society, and we do not appreciate it enough because we've never lived without it.
Okay. So looking, let's say 2-3 years into the future, what do you want people to say Georgia's first congressional district became because of the decisions leaders made when you were in office? So how do you hope to transform your district?
I would like to say, it became a place where where it works for everyone, if that makes sense, where the economy works for everyone. I feel like the economy is a huge thing for me. I'm big on that. I feel like if you fix the economy, you fix so many problems, whether it be crime, mental health, all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff stems from the economy. So I would love to just say, Joey created a job, Joey did this. I would love to have fixed the economy in it, because I feel like that would fix so much other issues in our district. If I could bring some good paying jobs, and, especially to these rural communities like mine, who Republicans say that they look out for, but they really don't. Let's be, just being real, I live there. I had to drive my son to another state for, 2.5 years to get chemotherapy, because we didn't have the capabilities to do it up in my area. So, these rural areas are not getting represented like they should be. So I would love to, bring some really good paying jobs in that, are good for the community, or good for the environment, that the people actually want. And I want to be a representative for the people. I think these congresswomen, they get so out of touch with the people. Lucky I am a working class person, but I don't want to go to Congress, to change. I want to stay in touch with, my constituents. You get a big old members allowance. I want to have offices within driving distance of each county. Let constituents, you can do interesting stuff that let them vote on bills that I can make public. I want to, really change the way a congressman or a congressman representative works, essentially. I want to start working for the people, and not, what we're seeing right now, because the wealthy are getting all the benefits.
Yes, they are. And we don't like that. And we don't want to have to rob nobody. I'm
Yes.
kidding. I kid. Joey, please let the people know where they can find you online. Obviously, they can follow you on TikTok. People, please follow Joey for GA Congress 26 on TikTok. Just hit that plus button. I'm going to hit it. There you go. And I'm following you. You can follow him there, but let the people know where they can find you, where else they can find you online, and how they can support your campaign, because you are truly grassroots. Truly.
Yeah. So my website is www.joey for Georgia, or for GA, and you cannot capitalize it without it's ever, and it's FOR, not the number 4. I'm on Facebook. I usually use I go by my personal page. I'm on I'm never going to call it X. Twitter. It's at Palimeno for GAD1. And then I'm also on Blue Sky and Instagram, and then Threads as well.
Okay, and your last name is spelled Palimeno. Palimeno.
Yes.
Don't you all spell it any other way? Yes. Spell it that way.
Spelled different. Yep.
Yes. And make sure you all support his campaign. No donation is too small.
Yeah, even $1. It's a crazy. Even $1 goes a long way. I mean, you can actually buy a Facebook ad with some reach with $1. I mean, I tell people, you can give 2 things. You can give time, or you can give money. As a working class person, I know, with how stagnant wages are, with the kind of labor market we're in right now, it's very, very hard to give money. But these primaries, these are more important sometimes than the general election. This is going to decide who is going to represent you. Who's going to fight for you. This is these primaries are a big deal. And it hurts me that turnout is low. So I hope I'm glad to see Georgia's turnout's been a bit higher this year. I want to keep that up, and I hope more people are aware that the primaries are very big. This is where you decide who's going to represent you. Whether it be a career politician or a working class dad like myself.
There you go. I love that. I love that pitch for the primaries. You know what? We should do that more. We should have a pitch for the primaries, because the primaries are important. You choose the strongest contender for the November election, and let me tell you, it should be someone who is of the people, from the people. Truly. Working class people make great representatives. They understand our everyday needs, and some of them actually care. Some of them. Speaking of that, coming up tomorrow, we have another candidate. This time they are running for a state office. Her name is Lisa K. Davy, who is running for the South Carolina House District 67 representative, and that is tomorrow, Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 at 7 o'clock p.m. So today you had a U.S. candidate. Tomorrow you will have a state candidate. We talk about state politics. We talk about city politics. We talk about federal. We do it all here. But tomorrow, join us tomorrow at 7 o'clock, especially if you are from South Carolina, which is having some redistricting issues of its own. As of today, or yesterday, rather, it's a mess everywhere. But join us tomorrow for Lisa K. Davey, South Carolina House District 67 representative candidate at 7 o'clock p.m. Joey, thank you so very, very, very much for being here with us. We appreciate it. We love that you all trust us to platform you and spread your name all over the land like a giant peanut butter sandwich. We love it. And we wish you the best of luck. Again, Joey is running for the Democrat primary for Georgia Congressional District 1. So if that is your district, consider voting for Joey. Consider it. And please vote in the primaries, people. Please, for the love of God. My name is Ayana. This is Our Vote Counts, an organization that's bringing people together through education about voting and about candidates of integrity. We appreciate you being here for our TikTok Live. Again, join us tomorrow. We will see you then. Remember, your vote is your power. Everyone, have a good night. Bye, Joey.
Bye. Thank you for having me on. I really loved it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.